Captain Carter positioned himself in the middle of the command deck, his hands folded behind him. Through the primary observation window, he observed the extraterrestrial craft maneuvering into formation around the USS horizon. Those streamlined arched vessels of the Galactic Concordat towered over Earth's inaugural diplomatic ship. "Commander, they'd fully encircled us," reported Lieutenant Morgan, her fingers gliding swiftly across her console as she assessed the unfolding situation. Although her voice remained steady, a subtle tension in her gaze hinted at her unease. "Hold our ground," Carter instructed. "We arrived on a mission of goodwill. Let's not give them any reason to perceive it otherwise." The horizon symbolized humanity's crowning accomplishment. After numerous years of development, Earth had finally achieved faster-than-light travel. On board traveled the planet's greatest experts and finest negotiators, dispatched to introduce humanity to the greater cosmic community. No one had expected to find an advanced interstellar authority already in place. "They're contacting us again, Captain," Morgan noted, glancing up from her station. "This marks the third call in the last hour." Carter exhaled softly. "Patch them through." The main screen at the front of the deck flickered to life. The extraterrestrial who materialized caused several crew members to shift uneasily. Ambassador Riley's skin was so delicate it was nearly see-through, revealing subtle fluid motion beneath. 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows blinked independently. His mouth, when it shifted, displayed teeth like smooth, dark stones. "Captain Carter," Riley said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. "Your ongoing reluctance is disappointing." "Ambassador Riley," Carter answered with a slight nod. "We appreciate the Concordat's interest, but we require time to review your proposition." "Time?" Riley echoed, as though it were a rebuke. "Your kind has existed for barely a moment by our measure. Your engineering is crude. Your grasp of galactic politics is absent. What you need is guidance, not time." Carter felt his jaw clench but preserved an unruffled facade. "We humans," Riley cut him off, his upper eyes narrowing. "Let me clarify. The Galactic Concordat has endured for 10 millennia. We have brought stability to 100 star systems. Your kind is archaic by our standards. The Concordat extends protection and instruction for your growth. You will relinquish your sovereignty and become a protectorate." A nervous murmur spread among the bridge crew. Carter raised his hand to silence them, then rose from his chair and stood as tall as he could. "With respect, Ambassador," he stated firmly, "Earth entered the stars as an equal, not a subordinate. We must refuse your offer." The 6 eyes blinked in what Carter had begun to interpret as shock. "Refuse?" Riley's tone sharpened. "Captain, maybe I was unclear. This isn't a proposal. This is the manner in which the galaxy is managed. Lesser species know their station." "We understand your viewpoint," Carter responded, "but Earth has its own stance. We pursue amicable relations with all spacefaring peoples, yet we will never give up our independence." Riley's upper eyes slitted. "This is unfortunate, for we have nothing left to discuss." Carter said, "We plan to return to Earth." An abrupt impact hurled Carter against his chair. The overhead lights flickered, and red hazard alerts flashed on every monitor. "They've locked onto us with weapons," Morgan shouted, her calm finally cracking. "Raise shields." Carter commanded, "Evade their fire." "Shields are collapsing," declared the tactical officer. "Their weaponry is piercing our defenses as if they were non-existent." Another hit rocked the ship. A support beam dislodged from the ceiling, smashing into the deck just meters away from Carter. "All personnel, initiate emergency procedures," Carter yelled. He turned to the communications officer. "Send a warning to Earth," informed them. The third volley struck the area directly above the command deck. The ceiling caved in, instantly crushing 2 crew members. Flames burst from compromised power lines. Amid the turmoil, Carter caught a final glimpse of Riley on the monitor, the alien observing with 6 inscrutable eyes. "Hurry to the escape pods," Carter ordered, helping a wounded ensign stand. "Abandon ship. Captain, the pods can evade their weaponry." "We must." She never finished, because the vessel convulsed one last time. A scorching brilliance engulfed the bridge. For a fraction of a second, Captain Carter sensed only unbearable heat, and then nothing at all. The horizon erupted in a blinding burst visible across millions of kilometers. Fragments of Earth's pioneering starships scattered in space, some incinerating completely, others drifting forever in the void. Aboard the Concordat vessels, observers recorded every detail. Data flowed back to their home planets, documenting the demise of humanity's craft for further study. 3 days later, in the majestic halls of the Concordat High Council, Ambassador Riley addressed the gathered representatives of 17 powerful species. The circular chamber buzzed with subdued discussions about the catastrophe. High Counselor Grant, the most senior of the council, lifted a slender hand. The room fell silent. Ambassador Riley, Grant said in a measured, resonant tone, "You have returned from your meeting with the newly encountered race. Explain what transpired." Riley inclined his head respectfully. "High Counselor, honorable council members, I bring the unfortunate news that our inaugural contact with the beings called humans ended gravely." He activated a holographic display, showing imagery of the horizon and its destruction. As instructed, I offered them protectorate status. Their answer was unforeseen. The recording displayed Captain Carter standing resolutely on his bridge. "They spurn our guidance?" asked one of the counselors at the rear of the chamber. "Not just refused," Riley answered, "but responded belligerently. When notified that protectorate status was non-negotiable, they attempted to flee and prepare to attack. This was a fabrication, but Riley knew that humans couldn't dispute his narrative. We had little choice but to eradicate the threat," he continued. The rudimentary craft posed no genuine challenge. The whole affair was regrettable, but inevitable. High Counselor Grant inclined his head slowly. "And what of their home planet, this Earth?" "We possess its coordinates," Riley replied. "I suggest dispatching an occupying armada immediately. They have to learn their role in the cosmic hierarchy." "Agreed," Grant said after pondering briefly. "Assemble a fleet. The humans will become a Concordat protectorate whether they consent or not." While the council deliberated the operational details of annexation, no one contemplated how humanity might retaliate. After all, what could an unsophisticated species possibly do to oppose the Concordat's might? Far away, the horizon's last automated signal reached Earth, delivering word of the Concordat's duplicity. On the planet's surface and in orbit, humankind received its first lesson in interstellar politics, and they began preparing. A vast alien carrier drifted at the outskirts of Earth's star system, its blue-green hull glimmering under distant sunlight, flanked by a dozen smaller escorts. 3 years had passed since the USF Horizon's destruction, and a Concordat annexation flotilla had been stationed here for half a year, awaiting Earth's reply to their ultimatum. High Commander Diaz paced the command deck of his flagship, the Concordat vessel Inevitable Harmony, his tall, lithe figure moving with the elegance typical of his species. In contrast to most Concordat races, Diaz's people physically resembled humans, though his metallic complexion and wholly black eyes exposed his alien nature. "Report," he requested, halting before the main display that revealed the yellow star humanity labeled its sun. His aide, Officer Reed, stepped forward, holding a data slate. "No response from the humans, Commander," Reed stated, extending the device with his four-fingered hand. They'd gone entirely quiet since our arrival. Diaz examined the data. "No communications, no defensive mobilization, nothing?" "No, Commander," Reed confirmed. "Our deep recon units report heightened activity in their asteroid belt, but it appears to be standard mining and minor construction. As for their orbital defenses, they're trivial. Some satellite platforms, a small sublight fleet, not enough to rival even one of our support craft, let alone the entire annexation force." Diaz handed the slate back to Reed. "Odd, the diplomatic group labeled them stubborn and proud. I foresaw greater defiance. Perhaps destroying their ship sobered them." Reed ventured, "They've had 3 years to think it over." "Possibly," Diaz said, though doubt crept into his voice. "Had our scouts noticed any unusual surges or signs of advanced research?" "Nothing exceeding their usual developmental track, Commander. They're likely a borderline level 4 civilization, remarkable for their youth, but nowhere close to the Concordat's caliber." Diaz slowly nodded. "They understand they cannot oppose us. That must explain it." He straightened. "Decision made. Instruct the fleet to proceed with the final movement toward their homeworld. We commence the formal annexation within 3 days." "Understood, Commander," Reed replied with a slight bow. "I'll alert the fleet at once." As Reed moved away to relay orders, Diaz continued to fix his gaze upon the display. Something about the circumstances unsettled him. In centuries of service to the Concordat, he had overseen countless annexations. Most species at least attempted to retaliate or negotiate. None had ever retreated so silently. "It's unusual," he muttered, "but ultimately irrelevant." Far from the Concordat's watchful eyes, hidden in the frigid reaches beyond Neptune, humanity had been hard at work. The Kuiper Belt, once a region of isolated frozen objects, had been transformed over 3 years into a colossal construction endeavor. Shielded by stealth technology and the belt's natural debris, a vast shipyard extended for kilometers in the vacuum. Admiral Turner surveyed the scene from a control room window, his breath forming tiny puffs in the icy air. To reduce detectable energy signatures, environmental settings remained minimal, leaving the space dimly lit by essential systems and equipment screens. Through the viewport, he could see humanity's retort to the Concordat, a gargantuan vessel that dominated the view even from kilometers away. Its hull was as dark as the void, broken only by armaments and sensors. Its outline evoked a sword, elongated, sleek with severe angles and a pointed prow. Along its surface, faint blue lines pulsed with power, the lone hint that the behemoth was active and not just a silhouette against the stars. "Magnificent, isn't she?" came a voice from behind. Turner turned to see Director Collins approaching. She looked drained, with shadows under her eyes and hair hurriedly pulled back. She had dedicated herself to the project from the outset, driving her team relentlessly toward what most thought impossible. "Status update," Turner directed, his commanding tone reflecting the unanimity with which he was chosen to head Earth's response. Collins presented him a tablet. "The EDF retribution is at 98%. Armaments are fully operational and tested. The FTL system is calibrated to surpass Concordat specifications, just as you mandated." Turner glanced through the data. The retribution was more than just a marvel of human ingenuity. It was Earth's biggest wager. In the aftermath of the Horizon's destruction, Earth's nations had unified with one objective: to ensure such a catastrophe would never repeat. They pooled resources, set aside internal differences, and worked in secrecy. The retribution was the culmination, a battle cruiser derived from the study of downed Concordat vessels, combined with humanity's own distinctive combat doctrines. "And the weapons?" Turner asked, eyes still on the tablet. "All functioning," Collins said, a hint of pride in her voice. "The main gravity disruptors are exceeding our benchmarks by about 20%. The adaptive shielding has been merged seamlessly with the point defense systems." Turner nodded, staring once more at the behemoth's silhouette. "And the crew?" "Trained and ready, Admiral. 600 of our finest, drawn from every nation on Earth. They've been drilling in simulators for 2 years. They won't falter." He returned the tablet. "And the rest of the systems?" "Electronic warfare modules are also online. The Concordat won't anticipate what's coming," Collins stated. "Our infiltration teams infiltrated their border colonies successfully. We now understand more of their technology than they suspect." "Excellent," Turner replied, refocusing on the window. "They still think we're inactive." "Yes, Admiral. Our diversion in the asteroid belt led them precisely where we intended. Their scouts see only what we allow, a frightened world increasing its mining efforts, hoping to please its prospective rulers." Turner allowed himself a small grin. "Then we're set. The Concordat misread our silence as surrender. They're about to be corrected." Collins hesitated. "Admiral, I must remind you, although the retribution outclasses the Concordat in several areas, they still outnumber us. Their annexation group has 13 ships." "Quantity isn't everything, Director," Turner replied. "They've existed for millennia without facing any genuine military threat. Their strategies are predictable. Their crews lack combat experience, and we possess 3,000 years of Earth's warfare heritage." Collins nodded in agreement. "Exactly. We may be new to interstellar travel, but war is familiar territory." Turner tapped a control on his wrist device. "Bridge, this is Admiral Turner. Initiate final checks. Launch window is in 24 hours. "Acknowledged, Admiral," came the swift reply. Turner turned from the viewport. "Inform your teams they performed exceptionally, Director Collins. History will remember what transpired here, what we all accomplished." Collins smiled gently. "Indeed. Now let's demonstrate to the Concordat the consequence of discounting humanity." They departed the observatory, the immense frame of the retribution dominating the background. Silent evidence that humans would never concede, only retaliate. Nexus Station glowed in the void like a polished gem, the Concordat's prime nexus for trade, where 17 alien species converged for commerce and dialogue. Its spiraling design featured innumerable docks, bazaars, and meeting halls. On an ordinary day, over 10,000 individuals roamed its corridors. Today, everything would change. Station Controller Hill's six-fingered hands danced across the controls, directing the steady influx of vessels docking and departing. Having served in his post for 5 decades, he took solace in the routine. Merchants arrived, bartered, left, envoys visited, and went on their way. The colossal mechanism of Concordat trade continued unabated. "Sir, we have 37 incoming flights scheduled in the next hour," his aide informed him. "Excellent," Hill replied, not lifting his eyes from the screens. "Confirmed docking Base 17 is ready for the Vlandin Tourage. They typically come with extra ships." The aide nodded and moved off. Moments later, every alarm on the control deck began wailing at once. "Explain," Hill demanded, sprinting from his seat. "Unclear, sir," a sensor operator yelled over the blaring klaxons. "All scanning systems are reporting an intense flash beyond the station's defensive perimeter, like space itself was ripped open. Something is emerging from hyperspace." Hill's complexion turned pale. "It's enormous." On the main viewer, they saw the newcomer. To call it a mere ship felt insufficient. It was a behemoth, dwarfing even the most formidable Concordat warship. This obsidian colossus devoured nearby starlight rather than reflecting it. Its design was foreign to the Concordat's catalogs, angled, intimidating, lined with what were unmistakably weapon points. Blue energy pulsed along its exterior. "Compare sizes," Hill instructed, his professional composure eroding. "Sir, it's close to 3 kilometers long," the operator cried, clearly in disbelief. "Its mass readings are astronomical. Identify it," Hill ordered. "Check the entire Concordat register. No matches," came the reply. "This belongs to no known species." The unrecognized craft drifted with astonishing finesse for something so large, aligning itself right before Nexus Station, exuding a predator's stillness as if regarding feeble prey. "Sir," someone shouted, "they're signaling us." Hill hesitated. On speakers, main screen, display the stranger's bridge. Hill felt his pulse skip. The beings were unmistakably human, the same race the Concordat had dismissed as underdeveloped only 3 years prior. Standing centrally was a tall man in a dark uniform decorated with insignia. "This is Admiral Turner of the Earth Defense Force vessel Retribution," the human proclaimed, his voice calm yet authoritative. "3 years ago, your Concordat annihilated our diplomatic vessel without provocation and threatened our world. You misread our silence as submission. In truth, it was preparation." Hill attempted to respond. "Human vessel, this is a commercial station, hosting thousands of noncombatants. Whatever your dispute with the Concordat, we are fully aware of your civilians," Turner interrupted, "and no innocent will be harmed. Our dispute lies solely with your ruling body." A junior officer approached Hill anxiously. "Sir, the defensive squadron is mobilizing." On a secondary display, Hill saw the station's protective flotilla. 12 sleek Concordat cruisers, racing to encircle the human dreadnought. Ordinarily, that sight would comfort him. Those 12 ships could easily scorch entire planets. Yet now the humans seemed unimpressed. "Your forces are preparing to strike," Turner observed. "That would be unwise." Before Hill could speak, fresh alerts erupted. Every system aboard the Concordat Defense Squadron abruptly went offline. Engine controls vanished, weapons ceased to function, and communications died. What's going on?" Hill shouted. "Their ship emitted some kind of pulse," the sensor operator responded, stunned. "It neutralized our fleet without a single conventional shot." Turner's expression on the screen remained unflinching. "We can eradicate your entire defense wing," he went on. "Instead, view this as a courtesy. The Concordat will engage with Earth as equals, or we will dismantle your alliance, one sector at a time." The station's control center was speechless. The threat was explicit and obviously feasible. I must alert the High Council," Hill said with difficulty. "You have 12 hours to organize a conference," Turner declared. "We shall remain here. Any aggressive action directed at this vessel will provoke an immediate countermeasure." The feed ended, and the view returned to the image of the huge human warship. "Relay an urgent priority 1 communique to the High Council," Hill yelled, his voice trembling. The Concordat High Council convened an emergency session. The 17 members had been dragged from their private routines and now sat in silent disbelief, watching a recording from Nexus Station. Ambassador Riley paced near the central display, his 6 eyes rapidly blinking in deep agitation. "How?" he demanded, at no one in particular. "How did they assemble such capabilities? This is inconceivable. Merely 3 years ago, they had barely mastered FTL." High Counselor Grant's voice cut through. "It appears we greatly miscalculated the humans," he said, his timbre subdued but weighty. "Their technology surpasses our estimates by centuries." Riley carried on, ignoring the reproach in Grant's voice. "That ship's performance is unimaginable for a people at their stage. a short, gray-skinned figure came forward from a group of specialists on one side of the chamber. This was Ambassador Evans, the Concordat's chief xenobiologist. "We made a core error in our assessment," Evans said calmly, turning to Riley. "We appraised them solely on their technological timeline, ignoring their other traits." "Clarify," Grant demanded. Evans explained, "We underestimated them, Ambassador. Humans have refined warfare for most of their recorded past. Unlike many Concordat civilizations that achieved major innovations during prolonged harmony, humans advanced while in near constant conflict." She activated a holo-display of Earth's historical data. In just 2 centuries, they waged multiple major wars. Their weapons and tactics evolved with breathtaking speed. Where it took the Vax a millennium to go from kinetic armaments to energy-based weapons, humans accomplished it in under 100 years. "But that ship?" a counselor probed. "Such advanced technology?" "They dissected it from us," Evans replied. "They must have salvaged the scout vessels we lost near Earth after first contact, studied them, improved upon them, and turned them into something beyond our comprehension." "You're implying this primitive race outdid our best engineers in 3 years?" Riley asked, incredulous. "Precisely," Evans answered, "because they think differently. The Concordat has thrived for 10,000 years of comparative peace. We create for trade, exploration, comfort. Humans innovate to defeat adversaries. We handed them the building blocks, and they constructed a weapon surpassing anything we've envisioned." The chamber was weighted by the revelation. "What now?" someone ventured. High Counselor Grant rose. "We must comply with their request and speak with them as peers." "That's outrageous," Riley objected. "We can't yield to a single intimidation tactic." Grant fixed him with a cold stare. "Have you not observed how their ship disabled 12 of our top warships without lethal force? Had they intended destruction, Nexus Station would be fragments by now." He turned to address the assembly. "We have misjudged these humans since the onset. First we thought them too primitive to matter. Now we realize they are exceedingly formidable. I will not gamble with Concordat lives simply to save face." He gestured to an aide. "Form a diplomatic party. We shall meet with the humans and hear their conditions." While the council busily hammered out the details, Evans discreetly amended her classification of humankind. Where it had once read minimal threat, she replaced it with severe. High Commander Roth commanded the Concordat flagship Eternal Wisdom, surveying the colossal viewscreen. Before him lay the Concordat's combined war armada, 300 ships representing all 17-member worlds, aligned in a formation perfected over centuries. To any normal foe, this display alone meant certain surrender. At its center, a lone dark vessel hovered. The Earth ship Retribution looked modest by comparison, but Roth knew better than to be deceived. "All vessels indicate combat readiness, High Commander," his second-in-command announced. "We are in standard configuration." Roth nodded, his gray skin reflecting the console's glow. "Transmit to the human craft." The comms officer complied. "Attention, human ship. This is High Commander Roth of the Concordat Unified Fleet. You have intruded into Concordat territory and jeopardized our civilians. Power down your weapons and await boarding, or we will open fire." The reply was swift. Admiral Vargas appeared on screen, dressed in a dark uniform bearing gold insignias. Her face was calm, showing no intimidation. "This is Admiral Vargas of the Earth Defense Force vessel Retribution," she stated evenly. "Your armada is impressive, Commander, but needless. We're here to negotiate, not battle." "Negotiation follows capitulation," Roth replied. "You have 1 minute to comply." Vargas gave a subtle, knowing grin. "I'm sorry, but that isn't feasible. By all means, do whatever you deem necessary." The transmission ended. Roth looked at his tactical officer. "Status on the human ship?" "They're armed but not aiming, sir. Their shields are operational, though they appear only partially powered. They exhibit no alarm." "They should," Roth muttered. "All ships advance to attack pattern Alpha. Let's demonstrate our true might." The Concordat armada converged, forming a tightening ring around the Retribution, an arrangement devised to concentrate maximum firepower while narrowing return targets. On the Retribution, Admiral Vargas watched the advancement with professional curiosity. The main viewer portrayed hundreds of vessels maneuvering with clockwork precision. "They're enveloping us," announced Commander Rost from the tactical station. "I confirm 312 ships, each charging weapons." Vargas nodded. "Exactly as we anticipated. Their default envelopment approach. Predictable." The bridge crew functioned in composed, practiced unity. Unlike the Concordat's grand command centers, the Retribution's bridge was utilitarian, every station designed for efficiency. They'll volley in coordinated waves, Vargas said, starting with their command ships. She turned to tactical. Identify their firing sequence and prime our counters. Already done, Admiral, Ross responded. Defensive systems tracking every signature. Vargas leaned forward. Activate gravity locks. Gravity locks engaged, reported the weapons officer. Across the Retribution's hull, special emitters powered up. Conceived through a blend of Concordat gravitational theory and human military insight, they generated local distortions in spacetime itself. The outcome was immediate and severe. The nearest 50 Concordat ships abruptly lost mobility, their engines unable to overcome the invisible constraints immobilizing them as though ensnared in resin. On the Eternal Wisdom, emergency sirens erupted. Explain this, Roth shouted. They've deployed a gravitational device, cried the science officer. Localized fields preventing movement in our forward contingent. They can't maneuver. This is madness, Roth responded. Such technology was purely theoretical. Nobody has ever, Commander. They're zeroing in on our main attack group. The tactical officer broke in. Roth spun toward the main viewer just as the Retribution fired. Instead of typical beams or projectiles, the warship launched concise bursts of energy, each shot precisely crippling a specific subsystem. Propulsion, armaments, counter-rays. First volley complete, Commander Ross reported calmly aboard the Retribution. 37 targets neutralized. No hull breaches or fatalities. Vargas nodded. Understood. Their second wave will attempt to fill the gap. Anticipate their strike. Sure enough, a second line of Concordat cruisers forged ahead, launching dazzling beams and missiles. Enemy barrage incoming, Ross noted. Adaptive shielding responding. Around the Retribution, space flickered as its defense matrix shifted. Rather than a single protective field, a system adapted to each distinct weapon, deflecting beams and intercepting missiles in localized gravity wells. Shield integrity at 92%, Ross stated. System is learning from their patterns, so efficiency is climbing. Vargas kept her composure. Second volley, again demonstration objectives only. The Retribution opened fire once more, targeting crucial points on the attacking ships and rendering them disabled with minimal harm. On the Eternal Wisdom's bridge, High Commander Roth struggled to process the incoming reports. Another 32 ships down, Commander, the tactical officer exclaimed. They're methodically crippling our fleet, focusing on drives, weapon pods, and power relays, but not killing anyone. How? Roth roared. Their targeting shouldn't be so pinpoint, and these gravitational weapons, we only had theoretical concepts. His veteran tactical officer, a seasoned fighter from prior engagements, looked shaken. They aren't just employing new hardware, Commander. They truly understand battle. While we've had centuries of peacetime, they've presumably been refining warfare on themselves. Another officer added, they adapt too. Our initial shots impacted them, but their defenses have already recalibrated. Each time we fire, they adjust and strengthen. Roth stared at the black dreadnought. In all his years, he'd never encountered anything like this. We have awakened something dire, he whispered. A third barrage from the Retribution disabled even more Concordat ships. Commander, his first officer said, we must withdraw. We've lost nearly a third of our forces and haven't inflicted notable damage. Roth knew she was correct, yet pride made him hesitate. The Concordat had never retreated in all recorded history. Commander, the comms officer broke in, the humans are sending a transmission. Display it, Roth said. Admiral Vargas returned to the screen, bearing a professionally neutral expression. High Commander, she began, this engagement has gone on long enough. We could continue dismantling your vessels, but there's no benefit in that. The Concordat has to comprehend that humanity won't be treated as an underdeveloped race awaiting conquest. Roth endeavored to keep his voice firm. What do you propose? Exactly what we wanted in the first place. Recognition as equals, a voice in galactic affairs, and a commitment that no human craft or settlement will ever again be threatened. Roth surveyed his bridge at the anxious faces of his subordinates. The Concordat's entire reputation was at stake. Very well, he finally conceded. I will forward your demands to the High Council. Vargas nodded. That's wise, Commander. We'll stand down our offensive measures as a show of trust, but maintain our defenses. When the transmission ended, Roth's second-in-command approached. Commander, how did these humans accomplish all of this in 3 years? Roth surveyed the powerless ships drifting nearby. "We judge them with faulty metrics," he replied quietly. "We measure their technology by how many years they'd been in space, by how refined their society was, by how peaceful they seemed. We should have measured them by how efficiently they wage war." In the Concordat's Grand Council chamber, tension hung thick. Delegates from all 17 member species filled the terraced seats in a circle, focused on the tall entrance at the far side. Supreme Counselor Clark, the oldest and most esteemed among them, stood at the highest seat, his weathered face bearing the stress of the latest events. As the chamber's doors slowly parted, he rose. Admiral Turner entered first, uniform immaculate, stride confident. Behind him were 5 additional humans, 3 men, 2 women, dressed for diplomacy. They seemed astonishingly calm for a civilization that had just humbled a galactic alliance. Clark noticed they carried no armaments, yet somehow appeared even more imposing for it. They proceeded across the vast floor, their steps echoing loudly in the near silence, and halted at the chamber's central platform. Turner stepped onto it, while the others stayed just behind. For a moment, no one spoke. This would be the defining encounter that set the tone for humanity's relationship with the Concordat. At last, Clark broke the silence. "On behalf of the Concordat Council, I welcome the representatives of Earth." A translator conveyed his words perfectly into English. Turner offered a small bow. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, we appreciate your greeting." Clark descended from his elevated position to stand at eye level with the human, an intentional gesture of equality not overlooked by the council members. "The Concordat recognizes Earth as a sovereign entity," he declared, "and formally apologizes for our past aggression. We seek peaceful coexistence." Turner inclined his head. "Earth accepts your apology and desires peace in return," he said in a clear voice, "but understand, we will never be subjugated." Clark spread his hands. "Recent incidents have made that abundantly clear. Admiral, your military prowess is formidable. One vessel altered the balance of power for our entire alliance." Turner remained expressionless. "The retribution is simply the beginning. Earth has already completed 3 additional warships of equivalent design." A ripple of alarm moved through the gathering, some counselors standing in alarm, others whispering to aides. Turner lifted a hand. "This is not a declaration of conquest. It is the reality you must accept. Humanity does not seek to dominate. We require respect." Clark studied Turner's face, searching for deceit yet finding none. "If not subjugation, then what does Earth want?" "A rightful place among the stars," Turner clarified. "The freedom to voyage, trade, settle where appropriate, and the guarantee that no tragedy like the Horizon's destruction will happen again." Clark nodded. "Those conditions are fair, but the Concordat requests something in return." "We're listening," Turner said. "Your advanced technology," Clark specified. "Especially your defensive breakthroughs. There are threats beyond our realms, species more belligerent than yours." For the first time, a slight smile touched Turner's lips. "We assumed that question would arise. Earth is prepared to share limited breakthroughs in medicine, environmental tech, and transit infrastructure, but our weapon developments remain confidential." Clark weighed this. Even partial cooperation was a boon. "We anticipated your reluctance. Then let us propose an alternative. Instead of relinquishing your armaments, lend us your protection." The entire hall fell silent once again as the council grasped the magnitude of that request. Over 6 hours, the humans and the Concordat painstakingly formed a treaty unique in the Alliance's 10,000-year history. The final pact named Earth as a new power in the cosmos, no conqueror, but a shield. Humanity would stand autonomous, free to expand into stipulated sectors. In return, Earth's warships would safeguard Concordat worlds from external threats. The humans would supply certain innovations but withhold their core military secrets. As Admiral Turner pressed his thumb to sign the treaty, he uttered a statement that would echo for generations. "Our history of conflict has a purpose after all. Let us serve as protectors in a galaxy that has forgotten how to defend itself." 5 years later, those words would prove prophetic. It started with scattered reports from distant frontiers, missing ships, ravaged colonies. Then refugees arrived, describing a foe unlike anything known. Called the Scourge, they advanced through Concordat territory like a consuming infection, annihilating everything in their path. Their biology was silicon-based and their vessels, strangely organic, ran on electrical signals shared by a collective consciousness, seemingly driven by infinite appetite for any resource, alive or not. By the time the Concordat fully recognized the danger, 3 frontier systems had fallen. The 4th, Bilar, housed 2 billion inhabitants. When the scourge materialized at the edge of Belor's star system, the defenders planned an evacuation, aware they stood no chance. But they weren't alone. The EDF Protector, Earth's third battleship, larger even than the Retribution and incorporating 5 extra years of upgrades, already stood guard. It hung between the oncoming swarm and the unsuspecting planet. Admiral Brooks commanded the Protector's bridge, monitoring the approach of hundreds of scourge vessels, eerie organic shapes luminescent with pulsing energy. "They aren't replying to any transmissions," his first officer reported. Brooks nodded. "I expected as much. Tactical overview. Their numbers are extensive, but each craft individually is weaker than ours. Their strength stems from synchronized assaults and rapid regeneration of damaged units, precisely what the intel warned us about," the first officer replied. Brooks turned to address the crew. "This is the reason we constructed these ships. This is why we're here. Engage full defensive parameters and prime gravitational armaments. Launch fighter groups 1 through 6. The Protector roared to life, energy coursing through its systems. Fighters deployed, piloted by Earth's most elite. The Scourge advanced confidently, counting on their swarm strategy that had toppled countless worlds. They expected this lone vessel to flee like all the rest. They were unprepared. The human fighters struck first, weaving unpredictable patterns that baffled the Scourge's collective intelligence. Their specialized warheads disrupted the alien biotech connections. Then the Protector itself opened fire, gravity distortions rending the Scourge ships apart, while adaptive defenses thwarted their biochemical beams. The intense engagement lasted 14 hours. Ultimately, the Scourge forces broke rank, retreating with fewer than a third remaining. On Belor, billions witnessed the night sky flare with distant explosions. When the battle was over, they watched the colossal human vessel maneuver into orbit, its black hull battered but unbroken. In the Concordat Council Hall, Supreme Counselor Clark received word of the Protector's triumph with profound relief. "It appears our treaty with Earth was even more prudent than we realized," he remarked. A younger counselor asked, "But if one day the humans turn against us, given their warships and their adept combat, they could crush us, right?" Clark considered this carefully. "I spoke with Admiral Turner on the day we signed the accord. He said something I'll never forget. True power is measured not by how devastatingly one attacks, but by how completely one defends." Clark looked at the twinkling stars beyond. "They could have subdued us 5 years ago, yet they chose to shield us instead. That alone reveals what kind of power they wish to be." Across the galaxy, the EDF Protector set course for its next deployment, Earth's sentinel in a perilous cosmos. Deep in the darkness, the Scourge gathered to make sense of something they had never before encountered: defeat.